I wasn't able to express everything that I would have wanted to say because I didn't know how it would be received. He had a temper, and I didn't want to make him mad. I didn't want to say anything to get him to be angry at me and yell at me. But there were times when he would, in front of his friends, he would do it in front of the babies, the kids. Welcome to the Bold, Bossy, and Blessed podcast. I'm your host, Nakisa Green, your conversationalist, where you can join me weekly as I discuss and share parenting, dating, and relationships, one conversation at a time. Now let's get into it. Yes, let's get into it, y'all. What's up? Welcome, everybody. Hey, how y'all doing? It is Nakisa Green, host of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed podcast, your favorite conversationalist. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of this podcast. I am so excited because last week I was having technical difficulties, and today it looks like everything has been resolved. So I am happy about that. I just want to make sure you all are following me on social media. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Nikisa Green. That's Nikisa Green. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. You can also follow my podcast channel page that I have on Instagram as well, and that's at Bold Bossy Bless. That is on Instagram as well as YouTube. So make sure you all are following me. Now, let's get into it, y'all. Let me tell y'all. So, if you listened last week to the podcast last week, you know that when the podcast aired, I was set to go on a date with a gentleman I had met a couple of weeks ago at a book signing. And so we went to lunch. I met him for lunch. I tried to take a little short video and post it on my Instagram page. Go check that out at Nikisa Green on Instagram. Check that post out. I tried, y'all. So what happened was is that since we were meeting for lunch, I wanted to make sure that once I got there that I went inside and greeted him, and that we began to have lunch since it was for lunch. So we were on like kind of like a time crunch. And so I didn't get a chance to record the video the way that I wanted to do. It was very short. But I will say that you can go to my Instagram page so you can see what I wore. Because I remember I talked about that last week about deciding what I was going to wear because it was going to be 90 degrees. Last week on the date, y'all, let me tell y'all what happened. Oh my goodness. So, this is the first time that I saw him since meeting him at the book signing, right? So get there, I was representing. I looked good. We greeted each other, and then kind of like gave like like a little half hug, and then I sat down across from him. So we sat across from one another, and we were talking. And then shortly after we started talking, he was like, your eyelash is hanging off. I was like, what? When I tell y'all, I was like, okay, let me see if I can fix this. Grab my phone to check because I'm like, is this something that I can just push back in place and fix, or do I need to take this eyelash off? Disclaimer is my daughter came over and she did my makeup. And when she put my eyelashes on, she was like, do you have eyelash glue? And I'm like, yeah, I have the duo. And she was like, you don't have the other one. She said, I don't like this one. I said, no, I only have this one. So She wasn't confident in when she put the eyelashes on me. And then I did not look in the mirror to check because I wanted to make sure I was on time for it, the date. So I didn't even double check to like push down, make sure, do my double check. So fast forward to the date. I look and it's not pushing back in place. So at this point, I took the eyelash off and then I took the other eyelash off. And I said, "Pardon me, I'm just going to take these eyelashes off because they're not working out today." And then I told him I would be embarrassed, but I don't get embarrassed anymore. So this is what it is. Like this is what where we're at. And so he was like, "No, you're fine." And I'm like, "Okay." And we continued on the date. He didn't make a big deal about it. He wasn't like looking at me crazy. Now, mind you, there are two different looks that you have when you have on eyelashes and when you have your regular eyelash on, right? When you have eyelashes on, it enhances your eyes, right? That's the purpose. One of the purposes of eyelashes is that when you put on additional eyelashes, whether they be eyelash extensions or whether they be eyelash strips, which I had the strips on, it's because I am wanting to enhance my eyelash or my eyes because my regular eyelashes are not as thick and not as many. So that's one of the reasons why I wear eyelashes or get eyelash extensions. I haven't got eyelash extensions in a minute because I literally just have not made time for it because 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours out of my day is a long time. So yeah, yeah. I don't want to make excuses on this podcast, but I just want to say that that has been the reason why I haven't got the eyelash extensions. Is because I just need the time. I need the time. I need to make the time to get it done. So if I would have had eyelash extensions, that wouldn't have happened on the day. It's funny to me, and I'm like, I mean, it's funny to me, not because I had an eyelash hanging off. It's funny to me because it was like, oh my goodness, I did all this to make sure I look nice and then ended up just not even having to have them on my face, just took them off. And so I'm going to tell you on on what happened on the next date because we did talk about this. So anyway, I let him know, my daughter had did my makeup and this and that or whatever, and then we moved on. Like we just started talking about almost everything under the sun. Conversation was great. The food was great. His presence was great. The chemistry was there. Definitely felt a connection. He's very smart, intelligent. He has a great memory. He remember a lot of things that he learned growing up, things that not your average, I guess your average person would know. So I really like it. I do consider myself to be a sapio, and so that is is a plus for me. Him being intelligent and us being able to have different conversations about pretty much any and everything. Later on that week, we went on another date. It was 3 days later, 4 days later. 4 days later, we went on another date. This time it was a fun date, whereas, it was active. So we went to the puttery, which was his suggestion, which I love that. I love when men have date suggestions and they also like think of different places that we can go and not just depend on like the lady to pick it out. So we went to a miniature golf place and I had been there before once. He hadn't been there, but we had a good time. Like we had a good time. It was competitive. We was, able to like banter back and forth, and he wasn't offended when I beat him. I only beat him by 1 point, but I still beat him. So we had a good date. It was a good day. And after that, we sat at the table, ate and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked some more. And I am enjoying getting to know this gentleman. So fast forward to let me catch y'all up on my weekend. A cousin I hadn't met before reached out to me on Facebook and inbox, which is this is like one of the good things about Facebook is the fact that you're able to like keep in touch with family and you're able to communicate with family that you don't normally communicate with or don't normally like have their phone number. And so a cousin reached out to me. I knew her. We are Facebook friends, but I also know the last name. So she reached out to me and told me she had an extra ticket for the hip hop classic concert that was happening in Texas. Now, at this time, I hadn't even heard, this was like last week, I hadn't even heard that of no hip hop classic concert. And then after she said that, then I started seeing it on Facebook. Like one of the network, professional network groups, they posted, they actually made an event about it. But I hadn't seen anything. So I was like, let me check the date. So I checked the date. It was Saturday. I'm like, yes, I'm free. I can come after church. And so Saturday, my cousin calls me. My other cousin calls me, my big cousin. She calls me and she's like, hey, I'm in Dallas. And I'm like, what? So now I'm really getting excited, y'all, because I love my family and I love when family come to Texas. Like I feel the love. I love when my family is in town. I do have some family here, but I also do not get to see them as much because they live on the other side, like over an hour away or an hour away, which is not an excuse, but just saying that I do have some family here. So she called me, hit me up, and was like, hey, I'm in town. She's also going to be like performing as well. So I'm like, okay, cool. She was like, um, your other cousin to be there. So I'm like, yes. I said, oh, this is a family affair. So she was like, just meet me at the hotel and pick up your backstage passes and your tickets. And we had like, when I tell you everything worked out so well. So my distant cousin, she was like, let's get something to eat before we go to the concert. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So we go, we grab something to eat, we're able to talk. Now this is the part that really just warmed my heart up. So this is my cousin on my dad's side. So I called my dad and I'm like, Daddy. And then I called. So first of all, let me backtrack. So I was trying to download Google Duo, like the video app for like Android users. And then I had realized, I'm like, oh no, my dad, he went and got an iPhone recently. So I'm like, he got an Android and an iPhone, so I can just FaceTime him. So I FaceTime him here in the store and I show him my distant cousin. And she was, like, hey. And then he was like, hey, he was like, who is that? And then she said her name. And then he was like, my cousin. And she was like, yeah. So he started smiling. I was like, yeah, she's in Texas. And he was like, oh, wow. So he was just so happy and excited that I was with his cousin, like his family. And then I told him, I said, yeah, my other cousin is coming over, going to meet us as well, the one that stay an hour away. And then I said, our cousin is here. Your niece is here. That's going to be performing on stage. So he was just overjoyed. And I'm so happy that I called him and let him know. So when we got to the hotel to meet my cousin, she called her mom, which is my first cousin. She called her mom on what is it? WhatsApp or the Google Duo or FaceTime. I forgot which one. But she called her and she was able to see all of us with her daughter. And then she was happy and excited. So I loved all of it. Loved all of it. Seeing my family happy, knowing that family were getting together and that we were spending time with each other and that we were here in Texas together. So we left and we went to go get the tickets so we could sit in the audience. We were like in section 100, not too far from the not too far from the stage. And we had a ball, y'all. Like it was so good. After Scarface performed, we went backstage with our backstage bands or whatever, and all we had to do was just, flash it and just keep going. And when I tell you, So this is my first time being backstage at a concert with celebrities, and I was excited. We was all like chill, like we wasn't like doing the most, like oh my god, oh my god. We were all chill, but we were very excited because this was our first time. And so I see my cousin on stage all the time with Slick Rick, because she's one of the background singers, as well as she's one of the background dancers, and she's the lead singer for Slick Rick, and she's been that for Slick Rick for 11 years, but she's also a independent artist herself. And her husband, Jay Ivy, just won a Grammy in February of this year. So super excited, ecstatic about my skilled, talented, successful family members. When I tell you they are so dope, and then they have good hearts, like I just love them. And so we get backstage, and Dougie Fresh is back there, taking pictures with people, and he was like real chill or whatever. So my cousin went over there and took a picture with him, and I was like, I'm not trying to like, I didn't want to impose on people. And I know, like, when you're trying to enjoy a show or you just chilling, like not all the time you want to take pictures. So I was just trying to feel the vibe out. And then once I saw, like, okay, he seems to be, perceptive to taking pictures with people. So we took our group picture with him, and he was so polite and kind. And that is just so good when you see like celebrities that you've been like, first of all, growing up with, and also been playing their music for like 20 years or so. It's like when you see them in person and you see them being you see them being kind, that matters. And I'm so glad that I was able to meet him, and cousin come backstage, so we like taking pictures and videos like with each other and just vibing, because the DJ is on playing music, and it was just so dope. It was so dope. So then she was like, we're going to be on the other stage, so we go on the other side. She's going to be on the other side of the stage. She was going to be on the other side of the stage, so we went on the other side of the stage to make sure that we could see the view of her and take pictures and video from that side of the stage. And so we go over there, we still vibing, chilling out. I got to meet Slick Rick's wife, which was also, she was also dope. And I met the other background dancer and singer. I always see her on the videos my cousin posts, and she was a sweetheart as well. Just really like good, dope people, and it was good. Then my cousin tapped me on the shoulder, and she was like, "Come here." So we all went over there, and she introduced us to Slick Rick, and then he took a picture with us. He was very kind and humble as well, and it was so good, y'all. Just on the backstage, in the backstage, vibing to 90s music and like rap that you grew up with, which the rap that you grew up with that was timeless, that you didn't forget, that you still listen to and play now. Like, to be able to have created timeless music is just such an awesome thing. And then still be able to be going around touring and being able to perform for the fans. Like, I have so much appreciation for artists. And so this is not my first time seeing my cousin perform. I have seen her perform at least 3 or 4 times in Chicago, because she, like I said, she's a singer herself, and she started off like as a teenager on Showtime at Apollo. So Google her, Tari Ture, TareyTorae. She was on Showtime at the Apollo many, many years ago. And that is when she started off. And she is a writer, producer. Like, she has so many accolades. But at the end of the day, she's my cousin. She's my sister cousin. So watching her, when I tell you she ate, both of them ate. But like, seeing my cousin like in action, like the background part, that was my first time seeing her back as a background singer dancer perform. And when I tell you, like, I was just like, wow, that was absolutely amazing. Like to be doing those dance moves, that choreography. Like before I left that night, my knee started hurting. So I started having issues with my knee. So I'm just like, I don't know. I need to get myself together because the way she was popping, like popping her hip and doing them choreography moves, I was like trying to like imitate her. And I was just like, wow, girl, the fact that you was up there for that long period of time, singing and dancing, it's like a different level of like respect for like the art and the craft that she does, because that was absolutely amazing. It was amazing, y'all. Then after we went backstage, we went afterwards, we went back to Slick Rick's holding room, and we had like, snacks and stuff, and we was just chit-chatting. People were coming in, letting Slick Rick know how amazing the show was and how dope everything was. People had flew in from different areas to come see the show. So it was really nice. And like I said, everybody was just really kind, and it was really a great experience. Then after that, you would think like, okay, well, girl, you went home, went to sleep. No, we didn't go home, go to sleep. We went to the lobby and played Uno. And while playing Uno at the lobby of the hotel, why do we see this big snake outside? Because the window was like, it was a window. We looking outside. I'm like, is that a snake? So somebody comes in. He's like, it's a snake outside. So we look. I was like, what? I said, and not no garden snake. It was a regular snake. It wasn't a rattlesnake, but it don't matter to me. It was a big snake. They ended up having the police come, and I'm thinking to myself, like, if I was a police officer, I'd be like, y'all don't pay me enough to be getting rid of no snake. And so he asked the workers for like some tools or whatever. So he had like a broom and some type of like mop thing or whatever. And he picked the snake up, took the snake down a little bit further, and then put him in the grass. But I'm like, why would you put him in the grass? Like, what kind of type of common sense did that make to put him in the grass of the hotel where he can just litter on back to the same spot that he was at? I Yeah, I said no. It's a no for me. It's a no for me. Yeah, it's a no for me. So outside of that though, we had fun. Check out the pictures and videos on my Instagram page and my Instagram story at Nikisa Green, so that you can be able to see some of the pictures that were taken when we were there. And just want to briefly just talk about last week episode. I know I began talking about my ex-husband when I was 19, how we got married and how he was verbally abusive to me. I didn't say or do anything to let him know that was not okay, that it wasn't acceptable for him to talk to me like that and treat me like that. I did not do that. And you have to remember as well that I was very young. I was 19. And so when I say I was very young, I was 19, I mean, I hadn't had a lot of experiences in life when it came to relationships. And he was my first, number one. Let's just start there. He was my first. So not having had relationships, not having had much experience in relationships, I didn't know what to do or how to do. I always thought that, like, when once you get married, right, you're married. Like, that's it. You're done. Like, there's no second marriage, there's no third. Like, you're married and that's it. But I realized over time and experience and wisdom and me actually experiencing. So this goes back to, like, a lot of people will tell you what they read in the book, but then haven't experienced it to be able to really speak to it. So for me, because I've been married before, I've been engaged before, I've been, meaning like we didn't get married from the engagement. I've been married twice actually. And so I can speak to marriage. because I've been there and I've learned and I've experienced and I have so much more wisdom from having had two marriages at different points of my life. So when people try to tell you like, oh, this is how should be done. Yeah, you can say that this is how it should be done from a book, but if you haven't experienced it, that's why when it comes to like actual knowledge of something, if you have experienced something, you're able to tell me whether you're still in that situation or not because you actually experienced it. So you can say, hey, I experienced this. Maybe you can learn something from this. Maybe this will help you down the line. Maybe this will help you in your relationship. Maybe it will help you in your marriage. Maybe it will just help you in life. I experienced it. I'm going to share what I experienced with you. And then if you're able to take anything away from it, cool. And that's the same way how I am with my podcast. Like, I'm not a relationship expert. I was looking at a podcast the other day, and it had a panel of like single people, like men and women, and they were like relationship experts and coaches and things like that, and all of them were single, but then some of them had been married before. So it's the same thing with me. What my desire is to share my story, my testimony, bring people on to share their testimony, and hope that somebody that listens to my testimony or listens to somebody that I have on the show testimony, that they're able to give somebody hope and light in a dark world, in this dark world, because there is so many things that is going on. And of course, we are not always able to tackle or discuss or converse every single thing that's going on in the world because there's so much going on in the world. And I will say that even though people may not perceive one aspect of how people decompress, we are all in this world together, and we're not having the same experience, but the same things is happening. So if I talk to you about something that's happening in the political world or the currency world or in a different country, it's still happening, whether you are participating, whether you are discussing it, whether you have any say in it, or it's still happening. And so for me, I try to always be balanced and make sure that my eyes and my ears are perked up, because these times that we are in, it is the last times. And there's a lot of prophecy from the Bible that's going on. So just be mindful of that as well. So, with my podcast, it is my desire that someone will hear something that would resonate with them, whether they're currently going through with something right now or have been through something in the past or the future, that they can think about, oh, she went through this and she did X, Y, and Z. And this was the outcome of what she did and what happened to her. And be like, number one, I'm not going through this alone because somebody else has gone through this. Number two, not feel so isolated and think that you're the only person in the world that has experienced it. And then number three, be like, oh, she overcame that. Oh, she got through that. That means that I can overcome and I can get through it. Like, there is nothing that anybody goes through that they wouldn't be able to say, well, I went through this and this is what I experienced. And this is what I learned from that experience. And what you learn from the experience helps you gain wisdom on how to handle the next similar experience when it comes back around, or if it comes back around. We have to start learning the lessons in what's going on in our lives. There may be times where we have to actually seek out the answer. Like sometimes my adult triplets ask me, Mom, what would you do if this and that? And I tell them, like, this is how I handle, for example, most of the time, my answer is I pray. And sometimes it's like, okay, you pray, okay. And I get that. Like, okay, you pray. Okay. I can only tell you all the steps that I had to go through and I had to learn, because at the end of the day, when I got divorced and the second time I got divorced, when I'm in my prayer closet, when I'm crying, when I'm sad, when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm feeling anxiety or overwhelmed about something, there is nobody else present but God. So it's just me and Him. So when I say I pray, I'm saying that even if it's through tears, even if it's through verbal conversation, even if it's through praise and worship, that I'm making sure that I am communicating with God because I get my strength for Him. And so when I'm going through something, whether like, some of the things I just mentioned, the part about prayer is that even if I don't have an answer about something or can see the entire vision about something, I know that I'm not going through it alone. And I know that the vision will come. And I also know that in prayer, before I'm out of prayer, I have the strength of the Lord. So now my perspective is a little bit different because now I'm coming out and I feel stronger. Now I'm coming out and I feel like a conqueror. Now I'm coming out and I feel like all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord. Now it feels like it. So it's not just in my head anymore. Now it's in my body. Now it's in my actions. Now I'm able to, okay, I don't have the answer for this, but I know it's coming. So I just want you all to just understand that prayer is a key thing, and make sure when you are praying that you have a journal and a pen, because God definitely is talking. He talks, He confirms, He affirms. And reading your Bible is very important. And not just reading your Bible, but actually studying your Bible. Like some of y'all need to just look up these definition of these words in the actual language that they were created in and just start studying the Bible. The other and last thing I wanted to discuss before I get off this podcast is I want you all to go to my Instagram page and subscribe. There's a link there on my Instagram page in my bio. And once you click the link, there is a caption that states subscribe. And once you subscribe, you're going to get a free ebook. And that free ebook is about starting your own business. And I wrote that book, and I wrote that book because I want to make sure that I'm able to give away free tools, free resources, and give you all information that I learned along the way, as well as resources on how to how to do certain things. Like I've done a lot in my life. So started this podcast by myself, didn't have any help. I can teach on that, how to start a podcast. I started a business. I can teach on how to start a business. Like there's so much. But I know that people are starting businesses, and so I wanted to just put together like a tool book for you all. It's an ebook, so it'll be an automatic download once I see that you've subscribed. And I just wanted to give you all tips and resources. I am known as the resource girl. I'm known as the motivational hope pusher, but I'm also known as the resource girl. And everybody that knows me know that if you ask me something and I don't know, I'm definitely going to research and get the answer for you and find out where you can get whatever it is that you're looking for as it relates to some form of business. I also started an e-commerce business where I have my own t-shirt line, and I'm also going to be sharing like some behind the scenes with that, how I started, and my t-shirt line is called God is Faithful and I Am Grateful. So make sure you check out my website, www.boldbossyblessed.com, to order your t-shirt. I am all out of the white t-shirts, so it's just black for now. And then I will be also having Bold Bossy Blessed podcast t-shirts as well, coming soon before the summertime. So just make sure you stay connected with me on social media so that you can get some of my merch. I want to thank you all for joining me on another episode of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed podcast. Next week, I have an amazing entrepreneur, business owner, empowerment motivator on the show. So make sure you all are subscribed to the podcast because you do not want to miss that episode. She has been in business for a while. She does a lot of nonprofit. She does a lot of speaking. She has her own business, and I'm going to be bringing her on the show, and she's going to talk a little bit more about what it is she's done and how she's gotten there and how she helps other women. So make sure you stay tuned and make sure that this week, today, that you are being bold in your purpose that God gave you. And if you don't know what that is, go back to the prayer. And then make sure that you are making boss moves, which goes back again to making boss moves as it relates to you walking in your purpose. Because we can say, oh, yes, I know my purpose, but are you walking in your purpose? Are you being bold? Are you boldly walking in your purpose? Or are you allowing fear to prevent you from moving forward? And then, of course, stay blessed, y'all. Till next time. Go to my website, www.boldbossyblessed.com, and use discount code OVERCOME to purchase the ebook, Overcome Obstacles, How to Overcome Obstacles and Turn Them into Success. Thank you for listening to another episode of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed podcast. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at Nikisa Green, and make sure you subscribe to this podcast as well. Until next time, be bold, make bossy moves, and stay blessed.